Amateurs talk shit, professionals talk shop. This is the Talk Shop podcast. I've changed the format of this show. And originally it was just me sitting across the table from somebody, just like every other podcast. But now I'm going to do something that is very new and exciting for me, which is that I will be doing this podcast, talking with guests and interviewing them while I am doing a portrait session. We just shot the first episode. That's what this one is. And I'm going to tell you, I really, really like this format. It's really, really cool. And as I was looking through this footage, I definitely think this is going to work. I think this is a really cool format. I think it's going to be very interesting. But I will also tell you, there are a lot of notes for this one. This one is pretty rough. It's pretty rough. We had 4 cameras rolling. 2 of them were completely out of focus the entire time. I also had a GoPro on me, which looks really stupid in hindsight. Next time I'm going to probably just mount it to the camera. But it completely bombed because the lens was covered in dirt, and I guess I just didn't see it, or water stains or something. So just a complete and total bomb on 3 out of basically 5 cameras rolling. About halfway through, some of the footage just doesn't look good because we didn't adjust for the light and everything like that. Also, not making excuses, but man, the studio pulled a real rug pull on us by... I was originally going to be shooting in an all-white studio, and last minute they told us we would be shooting in a black studio, which meant that, you kind of can't see me in most of this footage. Mistakes were made, lessons were learned. This is only the first version of this. But again, I am extremely optimistic about this format. I think this is really cool. I think I'm going to clip this out, and I think a lot of people are going to like this. But I'm very optimistic about this. I think this has got a lot of potential. And I think that if I can figure out a way to change the issues, get the lighting right, both for the subject and for me behind the lights and things like that, if I could figure all this out, I think we got something really cool here. And I think this is going to be a really cool show that a lot of people are going to enjoy. And what I think I like about this idea, probably more than anything, is that I find it frustrating when I see so many podcasts and shows where the person somehow, they don't really do anything. They don't, like, the host doesn't really do the damn thing. And so you get a lot of people that, I don't really know. It's sort of a weird thing where they're building an audience, and then you find out that they themselves don't do the damn thing. And I think this format, among many things, it's exciting, it's interesting, it's dynamic, it's chaotic, but it also gives me the opportunity to do the damn thing while I talk to people who are also doing the damn thing. And I think that's really what this idea has always been about for me. Is it's talk shop. It's about doing the damn thing. So I hope you enjoy this. If you don't enjoy it, please stick around for the next one, because I guarantee you the next version of this 2.0 is going to be a steep improvement compared to this one. All right, check it out. Today I'm going to be doing a portrait session and a conversation at the same time, because when I do portrait sessions, I'm usually talking all that anyway, and I like doing candids more than just like kind of the stale photos. Today, my guest is Chris Kim, who, in my opinion, largely dominates the sports and athletic creative space here. Maybe there's somebody else that does, but as far as I can see, you're probably the best, at least for events, just kind of in general. So this is kind of a weird thing to tell you. As a major part of the reason why I'm doing this project is because of seeing what you have done on your page. So just to give you like a little bit of like backstory, part of the reason why I'm doing this project is I noticed that there's a lot of creatives. There's this kind of this like a war with ourselves where we don't want to show ourselves, we don't want to show our face, we don't want to show our personality. We want to kind of hide behind our creative work. We want to hide behind our art. And then I see you, and you have done this like seamless blend of both, which I find kind of interesting. Just like right out the gate, what is do you have a struggle with that? How does that work for you?
Well, I mean, first of all, I have to comment on like the first part, like very kind words that you said to me, and I really super appreciate it. Like, I definitely am not the best for sure, and if anything, everything that I've done and learned is from all those around me, and of all the tips and tricks and just like lessons I've learned from everyone. So that's huge within the Austin community and just like the creative community in general. Whether you see someone online or in person too as well. That's the beauty of just being able to connect with different people and learn from them. But as far as remind me of the question again.
All right, actually, you've already given me a new question then.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious about is, so also just so you know, like obviously I'm going to be walking around. This is going to be like a real portrait session where I'm moving around and things like that.
This is awesome.
What I'm curious then is I mean, like there's probably people that I'm not aware of. I'm also thinking in terms of for you, what I find so impressive about your work is it looks like most of it is you're a single shooter, right? So so the other day. I ran into you at the Raw Dogs.
Yes, yeah.
And you had a photographer with you, but Henry, you mentioned to me something that blew my mind, and I want to get to in just a moment, which is that you deliver these event videos same day or basically in a few hours, which for me was like, I could not believe that, not just that you were doing it, but at the level that you were doing it, the quality that you were doing it, and I was like, okay, shit, this is like, I gotta up my game, like if that's what, but what I'm curious about, since it sounds like, you don't view yourself that way, who are some of the influences here in Austin that you look up to and that you're like, I need to keep up with those guys?
That's an awesome question because I got to give a big shout out to one of my best friends, Zaid. And he was the first creative that I connected with in Austin. And he's kind of an OG. He's been here since he was 4, I believe. And he's kind of worked in the industry for almost like 8-10 years. And, I think within that, like, he's someone that really stands out to me because, one, he has his own creative agency with a partner, and he does a lot of amazing work, whether if it's by himself or with his agency. And I think him just not even meeting at first just shot me a message online of wanting to connect, because he's the type of guy that also wants to meet new creatives, was a huge part of, like, what I do today and also how I interact with others. Because in LA, I'm not gonna lie, LA is known for like a very oversaturated market. You're a small fish in an ocean, right? Yeah. And sometimes there is truth to gatekeeping within that city, and not a lot of people kind of like share the knowledge or like, help each other. I don't want to say help each other out, but like very like, my client is only my client alone.
So is that what because actually, so I've been trying to figure out, because I work with a lot of LA folks, and I am trying to understand like there are some cultural differences that I'm just not getting.
Yeah, I would say that literally, like, Zaid is also one of my first friends that gave me my first gig. He literally said, hey, I can't shoot this birthday event for this NFL player's daughter.
Oh, nice.
And he literally just like shot me the guy's contact and just like messaged, hey, what time do I have to be there? And from then, it's never about like, oh, I'm gonna steal your client just so you gave me a reference. It's just like you're helping the other creative out. Obviously, you're getting paid still for your time and work, but it's also like the trust that people have of just like, hey, I can't do this event for you, but I got someone on my list. And that also shows more professionalism too as well, that even though you can't do it, whether you're busy or the task is not right for you, you are now a network for all the other creatives in the city or wherever, even in a different state, that you have the power to recommend someone, and that client or person is gonna remember that always.
Okay, so you know what? Dude, it's funny. Now I've got in my head, I've got like 3 different things I've like that are backlogged. I actually want to talk about this because this wasn't even on my list of questions for today, but this is like a point of contention. Like this is what you've just brought up is a very consistent problem of, do you refer somebody? So basically, I mean, what you're saying is that if you refer somebody and it works out great, it makes you even more of an authority almost in that field.
Yeah, I would say that it's funny, actually, within the past 2 months, I've gotten a lot of messages like, hey, do you know anybody that can shoot this? Or like, hey, are you available? But when it comes to a point of time where like, I am not available or I cannot due to conflictions, I recommend that someone that I know and trust personally. Like, I don't the key is to not just recommend anybody too. Recommend someone you've either worked with before, or if you've never worked with them before and you like their work and think they'd be the right fit, that would be perfect. But also, it goes in 2 ways too. It's either like you create the relationship still with this person that reached out to you, that wants to work with you, but you couldn't at this point of time. that they're still remember you and thank you for sending them someone else. Or in the other case scenario, the person that you recommended now has a client and is able to make some bread too as well. Because I think it's the beautiful part about this, that everybody's like, nobody's trying to like gatekeep, in at least as far as I know this city, but everybody's trying to help each other out. You know, there's enough, you know, money in the world for all of us, and we should be more, aware of that, because you don't have to keep everything for yourself, but you're never gonna scale if you keep everything to yourself as well. You know, like, yes, I may be a single shooter sometimes, but I am always looking for a photographer to help me out, and it's a better experience for the client. Because events, I could shoot photos and videos at the same time, but am I gonna capture all the moments? No, absolutely not. It is always best to work with a team, because you can capture different angles while one runs photo, one runs video. I mean, hell, even a social media person that just does the story captures.
Have you done that? You bring as in just with their phone?
I did, yeah. So actually, what's curious about this one is, this was a 2P client of mine where he hosted 2 fitness retreats, one in Austin, one in, where was it? In Las Vegas, yeah. And he hosts this 2 to 3 day fitness retreat for his clientele, because he runs a remotely online coaching business, and he treats them to this experience where let's all meet in person finally. Let's have this lovely retreat with workout. Finally get to meet us in person. We give you the real person advice. But the cool part about that is I hired a team for that, like me and 2 other friends. And what's fun about that is like nobody that I hire is not a friend. Everybody I hire is always a good friend. You know? Because it's someone that I need to trust.
Right.
And the only person you can trust is really friends too. And I hired one for photo, one's an editor, one's doing video only. And really, like, whoever is doing photo is usually the social person on the phone, so that way they can post stories or post the reels or the hard posts.
So the photo doubles as the social media?
Exactly, a little bit, because as far as like intensity of like what you need to capture, the photographer has like a little bit more room of flexibility, right? And what's cool about that is basically it was like, hey, I will event coverage your whole entire fitness event so that you can be hands-free. Like, you don't even need to touch your social media to post anything. We're gonna handle that for you. We're gonna do all the photo, video, reels, and posts. Like, if we need a certain caption that you want, let us know and we'll like copy and paste it onto it, right? And then I even sent 2 of my guys to Las Vegas for the second P of that fitness retreat, because when I was doing a film project that my friend hired me for the guy running across America. But like, I didn't want to.
I remember that. Yeah.
But instead of saying no, that I can't do it, I'm like, wait, I got it. Let me send my same photographer that was at the last event. So there's still trust of like someone that the client has already worked with, and a good friend of mine who lives in Las Vegas that does mad event videography too as well. And they crushed it. They took care of the social media, they took care of the photos, and the videography of just the reels and posting. It was just like, dude, this is awesome. So being able to like organize all of that and still like scale properly, where I may be here doing something, but that doesn't mean I can't give you other people to do. And I'm still in his recommendation as far as like when they have a third one, we're probably going to be his first go-to people. So.
And so in your experience, that like they come back, your clients come back to you, even if you refer somebody else because you couldn't make it.
Yeah, exactly. And if I can't make it, still I'll recommend the same person that they work with if they are available. Because mainly, like, again, I want to make sure, exactly, basically work with someone that they trust and know and have that same, if not more elevated experience the second time around too as well, you know? And again, if it's someone that is not available, I'd recommend somebody else that I trust and personally know, and hey, don't worry, and if they've already worked with me multiple times, like I'll give them good people to work with.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, so I am curious about, I looked at the back of your Instagram as far as I could go, and it looked like it cuts off around 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you come from LA to here.
Oh man.
So this is kind of another like ongoing question for me, and I think for a lot of people is location, right? Like, where should you be? What caused you to move here? And it sounds like you've already addressed one of the issues, is just the constant culture of gatekeeping versus Austin is much less gatekeeping.
Absolutely.
But what were some other reasons that caused you to move over here?
Well, it's a very interesting story because I didn't even know about the city of Austin. I probably did back in elementary school when you name all the states and capitals and whatever cities. But I was dating an ex-girlfriend at the time, and she lived in North Carolina. We're doing a long-distance relationship. And we were I was about to move to North Carolina, actually, now that I think about location, because I was going to work for a gym, because my main background was I've been a fitness coach for over 10 years.
That explains it.
Yeah, I've been in the fitness space as a trainer. When I bought my first camera back in LA, it was meant to be a fitness content creator, actually. I didn't intend to really flip that switch around to other people. It was mainly to be like, the end goal was to be a Nike fitness trainer. That was like my dream goal. And when I was dating the ex-girlfriend at the time, she threw out a city named Austin. And I was like, I don't think I've really heard of this city as most people have, And I looked it up. I looked up a gym that I could work at, because that's the first thing on my mind. Like, okay, what kind of job can I work?
Okay.
And, all good.
Very live. We are live, folks.
Yeah. And I found this gym called East Austin Athletic Club. And originally I pitched them like, hey, I'm a fitness coach. If there's a spot available, I'm willing to be a part of the training team and also do the social media for y'all. Not even for like extra pay, just doing the social media, because I got to get my feet in the city first, as what I'm able to do. And really, like, I didn't start video until I moved here in December. I moved here in December 9th of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so you've done all this in 4 years?
Yeah, about to be 4 years.
That is
soon.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it really like.
As in, like, you learned video in 2020?
I learned video probably more in depth at the first Christmas party at my gym. Yeah, so around like December 14th.
That is remarkable, dude. That's extremely impressive.
Yeah, back then it was on a Canon USR, and really like I kind of dabbled in video, but I wasn't in the color grading scheme. I wasn't shooting log. I was just kind of like, okay, what do I film? I'm just gonna try it out, And I think that's the general sense of things. Like, if you don't try something out, you never learn, because you won't know what you're obsessed with and what you're not obsessed with.
It's funny. Yeah. That blows my mind. I assume you've been doing video for like 10 years or more. I went to film school, and I was kind of like a part-time videographer and everything like that for like the past 10 years. But I've been doing video for forever. And you were actually one of the people that I looked to for like technical and I mean, like, I think there was one of your videos was like the Barbie one, like the Barbie event party. And I was like, because I was shooting a party after that, I must have watched that video, I don't know, 20 times, being like, okay, cut to this, like all the different angles and everything like that. How do I get this energy or whatever? So the fact that you did that in 4 years is absolutely remarkable. One of the other things about you that I find very interesting about your work, I should say, is that you have this very, you have like a very interesting aesthetic in that I can see the appeal, like a mass appeal, but it's also branded specifically to you. Like, as soon as I see it, both your photo and your video, I can immediately tell in any lineup that it's yours. Is there something intentional that you're doing that has caused that, or is it like something that's just sort of organically grown over the past like 4 years?
I would say that I think there is a theme that I generally try to keep in all of my work. And the theme is to make things very lighthearted, fun, and relatable as much as I can. And what I mean by that is I'm never like the gritty filmer. I'm never the, black and white photographer. I'm never the, like, how would I say it? Like, fashion person. I know who I am. Okay. And I think knowing who I am reflects in my work too as well, and what I want to be able to portray. And the people that I've been able to work with understand that, because it's not I'm taking anybody. Like, if someone came up to me with like, hey, I have a client that wants to do, or like I want to do like a very fashion editorial shoot. Well, I don't know if you've seen my work, but I don't do any of that. Yeah. But again, I can recommend someone that does that I've loved their work too as well, And to your point, it's like when it comes to portrait work, I don't really work too many portraits. In fact, I probably think I suck at portraits, to be honest. But I've seen your work, portraits are great. I've seen Hans, at events, and it's stellar, But for me, I like to capture the very natural, candid moments. And I think that's probably why I love doing events. I love capturing whenever I do more staged films. Like, it's got to be like what the person's feeling. I think a good project of mine it was a spec project too that I tried for Nike Yoga. It was probably one of my favorite projects to date. And the reason why I say this is because I want to do like a lot of people at the time, like a spec project to help, broaden your work skills or be able to create something that will reach clientele. And the reason why I say this is probably one of my favorite videos ever that I've created so far is because, one, it wasn't for a client, it was for myself. And I reached out to this person who I thought would be a fantastic fit for it. And turns out she was, because I wanted to hear her story. What was your story with getting into yoga and mindfulness? What was your life like before that, and then we captured all of that in this short little 3-minute film that we did. And I wanted to capture it real. I didn't want to capture, like, if I do another running project, I want to know a friend that has a story like that and be able to film that exact story, you know, instead of like conjuring something up.
Yeah.
You know? The only things I would be conjuring up is the scenes and the stage shots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I like
You
to
had an organic story basically already made for you.
Exactly. Like
I'll tell you what, you want to actually stand up. We're going to switch to standing.
Oh yeah.
And I'll grab that apple box.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand on that.
Yeah, perfect.
Right there.
Stand on the spot. Perfect.
Yeah. Just
Actually,
right there,
so this then leads to another question. So I mean, to be honest, this show, the way it will probably work is a lot of me asking different people the same question because I think a lot of people have the same struggle. And I'll tell you what, actually, don't worry about that because I can Photoshop that. So
Okay, cool.
Step forward a little bit.
Okay, just making sure.
So I want to hear about this. I didn't see that. I looked through your page, but I did not see this.
I think I removed it off of my thumbnails.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Like, it's not on my pin post. It was probably, I think I worked on it in 2022 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was when my friend was about to leave. That camera. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Kick this camera.
I just kicked my camera.
Oh man, it's like I've dropped my FX3 rig like 3 times.
Well, this one in particular, I've dropped. So the lens
terrible.
he's got, I've dropped it on its face multiple times. Also, George, real quick, would you mind just making sure you check that camera when you're over there and see it's still rolling? Sweet. Yeah. Oh, and actually, this one cut.
Perfect. Break time.
Break time.
Funny about that, I used to cut a lot on my video takes, and then I realized, so like a year and a half
sucked.
ago, it
makes
sucked.
it way harder to edit.
Yeah, it's just keep the camera rolling.
Yes.
No matter what. Easier deal with 1 file than 5.
Exactly.
This is a guy coming from non-film school too, so like I had to learn on the go, which is like, you know what? Actually, the funny thing about that is when you're learning on the go, there's an obsession when someone teaches you. So I think like you're scheduled to teach on certain things, but when you're obsessed and you learn on your own, when you stay up those late nights at like 1 a.m., you end up finding new things that I feel like would have been missed. So obsession is huge, I think, within the growth of like what I've been able to do so far. You know, and it's still not the best either. And I feel like it will never be the best, but that's also a side effect of imposter syndrome, being in this space of trying to make great work. You know, I think, man, that's always going to be a hard part, no matter what.
Dealing with imposter syndrome?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any, like, how do you handle that? How do you handle imposter syndrome?
Man, you know, I think that how I've been handling that is thinking, you know what am I going to create next? Because why obsess something over that I've created so currently when it's the next day and new day, when that video is probably, or picture, is probably going to get lost in the archives for who knows how long, right? Until it's brought up. And I think knowing that gives you a new perspective. Like, you don't have to linger back on your past projects. You don't have to obsess over what you've done before, right? Do something else, do something new, or replicate it in a different way or an elevated way. Never the word better. I feel like the word better is almost negative, as funny of a word that is. Because like when someone says better, it seems so like, how would I say it? Not so much insulting, but almost like a very put down feeling on somebody, you know? Like, this work is better, that person's better, or whatever, you know? I think the term to elevate yourself is a lot more uplifting as far as like when it comes to like really telling myself like, how do I avoid this feeling? How do I want to make sure the next day is like a much more like uplifted day? That's how I would approach it, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, for me, when I have imposter syndrome, so far, the only thing I've had is just push through.
Yeah.
It's just like focus on the reps. And what happens to me is when I get into a funk where I hate everything I'm doing, later I look back and I think I usually find that those are the best things that I've made is when I hate everything.
Yeah.
and just I think it's just a matter of going through that repetition, that cycle a few times and going, okay, this is just how it is.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Spec work though.
Yeah, spec work.
Oof.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, full disclosure, a big part of the reason why I'm doing this show is because I got questions. And I'm trying to get people that I think have answers like for myself. Like I need to know this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get like collab with businesses or whatever and offer like free work or whatever. And I have found that it has just been like basically impossible. Like some of the extremes that I've gone to get these people to shoot for them like a free commercial for them for free or anything like that. And I am oftentimes shocked at, like, especially if I want to do apparel or anything like that, how like I basically just get stonewalled. When you did that, I mean, Nike's pretty big, so I'm guessing you didn't even ask them. You just made it, right?
Yeah, I didn't really ask. The only person I asked was like a Nike Eakin rep is what they call him.
A Nike what?
Eakin, I think, is believed Nike spelled backwards. But
okay.
At that point, it wasn't like huge scale. I just asked for, hey, would you be down to like just like send like 2 pieces of apparel? But like 2 pieces of apparel isn't gonna do shit for like Nike, right? It's not like it's like one of their new launch running shoes or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Did they do that? Did they send it to you?
Yeah. You know, just send me two clothing. I mean, she lives in Austin too as well, so it's like kind of easier for her. Like she can hook anybody with clothes if she wants to, you know?
Yeah.
But I just needed Nike clothes that also I wanted to make sure the talent had some, you know, because like it's either you pay the talent something, obviously not like $500 for the day because nobody's got that personal expense. Yeah?
Exactly.
But at least like, hey, I pay for your food, or like if it's a clothing shoe, like, hey, I buy all this clothes for you, just send me your sizes, you know?
Yeah.
And you just gotta work with the person. What's a good trade-off, you know? If anybody tries to ask like, yeah, but I cost like $800 a day, just like, you know what, you're not the right person for me.
Right.
Like, fuck off. But because at the end of the day, spec projects are a personalized project that you're trying to either do for yourself, whether it's to get more into film, whatever industry, like film, commercial, you know, advertisement, whatever, right? And I think the key with that is you don't really, it's one of those things where like you don't really ask. If you wanted to ask as local business, that's probably a lot more feasible. But if you wanted to do like with a drink company like my friend did for Poppy or Whoop and other companies that are apparel or shoes or a certain brand image, I think that you just got to do it and post your work. You know, I think there's this book called by Austin Kleon, Show Your Work.
Show Your Work.
Yeah, I think his last name's Kleon. He's the author who made Steal Like an Artist.
Okay.
And I'm only halfway in Show Your Work, but the whole intention of really showing your work is to just be natural about it. Don't think about it too much. Like, if yours is, what's that quote? Be so good that it's hard to ignore you, right? But that quote doesn't mean that you have to show off anything. It's just that you are doing the work, putting in the reps, and you're just putting it out there, you know? And people will notice. The right people will always notice. You don't have to show to 1 million people. You just have to target that few people that are willing to work with you and absolutely love it. You know, I think that's key. Because everybody's saying, man, it only got like 1,000 views, or like, you know, but out of those 1,000 views, if one person reaches out to you, hey, we love to work with you.
Yeah.
That's a big win.
Can I tell you, I actually just wanted to make like a moment, really. As somebody who works for one of the most famous people in the country or in the world, I could tell you, the more uncontrolled the exposure is, the less valuable it is. So speaking to that, it's like, yeah, it is not about, that's one thing I can tell you directly. It's like, it's about getting your work right in front of the right person. I found that out like slowly, like over the course of the last year, where it's like, just getting out your name out there to a bunch of random people doesn't actually do anything. You need to get it specifically to somebody. Is that Sony? I just want to make sure that that's rock and roll, right? Cool.
So weird seeing a Sony body and
all these different bodies here.
Yeah.
Do you have? What's up?
I'm gonna cut and restart it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Cool.
To that end, in your experience, do you have any kind of pointers for getting your work in front of the person or anybody that you think can like be a decision maker or help you move forward?
I would say, you know, it's funny because I chatted with my friend about this a couple days ago. He said he was going to do a fitness fashion shoot, right? Of just like capturing a model, you know, wearing fitness apparel, making it fashion. So like kind of like what other companies do, like Aloe or to name a few, maybe Fabletics. But I told him to, hey, do you have other products involved? Because why focus on one product when you can have a spec shoot with 5 different products? And
Interesting.
I mean sunglasses, I mean the shoes, and I mean multiple things. Because why spend a day that's 3-5 hours, and because of location, you got to drive to gas and all of this personal expense that you're doing for just one brand? Why not turn it into something that, hey, let's focus on multiple facets of this so that way you have multiple ways to reach, you know? And not hire a videographer, but ask a friend who's a videographer, hey, you want to join me on the spec shoot? And because that way you can deliver both photo and video. And it's a collaborative effort. No one should ever be like, hey, whatever photos or videos you have, it's mine now, you know? Ever. It's about shared work. Because like, again, working with people, I think since I moved here is one of my favorite parts of being a creative and in this industry. The more people that I'm able to bring on a project, honestly, it's such an amazing feeling. But
how do you go about that? Like, so again, just like this is another personal problem that I have.
Yeah.
I hate. I'm not paying these guys that much, very much, but I hate asking people to help me. It's not.
I'm kidding,
like
I'm kidding.
just straight up. It's not a lot. It's
Yeah.
but it's like I mean I don't got a lot, but
Yeah.
but it's like I have this thing. I hate asking people for help. I hate asking people, and I think part of it is also I just don't feel like I'm very good at it. How do you go about that? How do you go about that?
I would say I think the number one thing is like I always want to make sure I see someone's work, right? And so I will scroll through their page and kind of see what they've done, and also following for the. Social media is a very open book nowadays.
Yes.
So you can kind of understand someone's personality when they post stories. You can see who's the more like quiet one or the very like extroverted person, who's willing to come out and meet for some coffee.
Yeah.
Right? And I think within all of that, like after that, like once you exchange messages, once you kind of talk with the person of like, hey, let's meet up for coffee. So because you can't really get to know someone unless you meet them, And when it comes to their workflow, like you just gotta really like figure out like in that conversation, like, how do you work? Like, what's your process? But very candidly, it's not like you're trying to investigate them for anything. But I think being real with the person, whether if you're bringing them on for a spec project or whatever client that you need, and there's this budget, is I think the best way to really go about like when reaching out to other people for work or bringing on other people for a team, and also just who's down for this mission, as well. Because like, especially, I think it all starts too with like spec projects or even like Hans creative walks too, the creative chat too as well. Right. It's like you have all these people that are willing to invest their time. And it's not like sending one message in a group chat is not a huge amount of time, but it's an investment regardless, or just being in the chat, and actually know what's going on and participating. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to come to the walk, but Sundays have been my long run days too. So, but I will, I promise.
Yeah, we should probably. I'm just to fill it in. So basically, cameraman Han right here. Do you want to just like pan to him real quick?
Yeah.
We're doing these banging photo walks.
Exactly, and for raw dog too.
He's pretty camera shy apparently. I didn't realize that.
I'm behind the
Which has been a total blast.
Yeah.
And just like immediately gives a sense of community, which I find really.
Yeah. But I think anything is a relationship, no matter what. Like, because like sometimes some other people that you bring onto work, the relationship is easier. Some will be a little bit more of a pathway just because of how the person is. But that doesn't mean both are neither good or bad. It's just who is willing to be invested into the same mission that you are.
Yeah.
If it's a project with a spec or with a client. I would say there's more pressure on a client, obviously, because you gotta deliver. But that's why I think it's always fun to start off with just spec projects too, like either the creative walk or just like, hey, do you want to go to, like, I think a couple of people are going to the track right now to capture some photos too, and I think doing that stuff you get to understand, either the person doing whatever work they're doing, and also like you get to, in that moment you may teach them something else that they'll probably try out too, and it helps them in their workflow. Like, in this industry you have to be a sponge. If you are not willing to learn within anybody's advice, no matter how little or big, I feel like it's a huge impact in how it affects what you do in your business or in your personal projects or for work. I think one of my friends, he's a crazy photographer, and I didn't know this, but he said he crushes his highlights, meaning he brings them all the way down to like -50, -70. And I started doing that.
In post or in?
In post.
Yeah, okay, I do the same thing. All right, I think I understand. Yeah.
Exactly, and I didn't know about that. And I tried doing that, and I loved how the images look after that.
Yeah.
It's like, someone could easily hear that.
Let's do a quick explainer of what that is, because this is talk shop, right? So
okay.
what we're talking about is, I should, like, you might back me up on this, is that a big part of, for me, what I've noticed with what makes somebody technically skilled is really how do they handle the blacks and how do they handle the whites, essentially. Exactly. It's like those are, more often the midtones are pretty easy. You put it on, auto ISO, it can handle the midtones.
Yeah.
But in multiple, like especially, you shoot mostly during the day, I shoot mostly at night. So you have got crush highlights. I guess I'm dealing with crush highlights as well. But basically, how you handle that extreme dynamic range is, I feel like, the mark of probably like a pretty advanced level. Like, how good are you at handling that?
Exactly.
So what were you when you're talking about like how you handle the highlights?
Yeah, I drop them down. Like
Yeah.
even actually, a lot of people always ask now too. Like when I show them my work, like the contrast levels too on the photos are important too. I'm sure you can agree.
Oh, absolutely.
My contrast is at -30. You know,
Negative 30.
Yeah, it's very low. I keep my contrast low because all I do to really bring back contrast is the tone curve. Yeah. So like either drop it super low or like mid-level, depending. But,
So what I actually do, I find is this, and I might change like whatever. My personal philosophy is that you always want to do the opposite. If it's a high contrast, if you're shooting in a high contrast environment, then yeah, you lower the contrast dramatically because that makes it just look more interesting. If you're shooting in a low contrast environment, like basically what we replicated, then you add a ton of contrast into it, and it makes it look more interesting. But I always find that it's just doing what the opposite of what the environment naturally is. If it's bright, if it's during the day, a lot of times it's more interesting to make it look darker. If you're shooting at low light, it's a lot of times it's more interesting to make it look really bright. That's my current philosophy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. I'm gonna take your advice on that. See, absorb, learn, apply.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here's what we're gonna do now. Actually, I'm gonna ask another question, but we are going to do a vibe switch.
Oh man, there's definitely one thing I'd love to touch on too that you might also love too as well.
What's that?
I had a conversation
you wanna point
too
in 'cause you
with
got the
a
mic?
friend recently. Is that I love the fact that like what's it called like because someone who's just
Getting into video, we were working with on a shoot, literally like a few days ago, and he just started out, and he's just learning all the technical things too as well. But I also mentioned like whatever you're investing your time and skill in, just know that you don't have to learn how to do every single thing.
Right.
Because some of the most famous directors and photographers, even I think there's that one celebrity photographer, I forgot her name off the bat, but she doesn't hold the camera. She just directs the photo session. And I think that speaks volumes into, at first, of course, there's a level of barrier of entry to anything, right? But when you get to a point where what skill you want to invest in, whether you're the cinematographer, the boom operator, the camera operator, right? Everything else is just you hire other people for it and bring on a team too as well, right? Because the director, they don't really hold the camera. They're directing and making sure things are flowing the way they want to. That's what the cinematographer's for, The person in charge of lighting, they're not doing the lighting. That's what the gaffers are for, right? So meaning, even though someone wants to create all this video stuff but can't, you can always ask people like, hey, I have this project, I have this idea to come to life. Can you help me? Or would you like to be a part of it? I think that is huge, that people forget that you don't have to learn you don't have to know, I wouldn't say learn, you don't have to know how to do everything. If you want to do something, there's always a way when you don't know how to do a specific skill.
Yeah. No, I mean that's I feel like been a personal struggle for me as well. Like this constant desire to add more and more and more. You just disappearing. Just, hey, where'd you go? What happened? It's just to try and like get all the equipment and get all the tools and everything. And yeah, I mean you're right. This is a collaborative art form. Like there's absolutely no if and ors about it. Let's get back to. I'll tell you what. Could we switch with? We'll give you the stool, and then we'll give Han the apple box. And I'm going to explain what I'm doing here then too.
Where should Han go actually?
Yeah, we'll go back to here. And this is a hell of an experiment.
I like it.
This episode. I think I do like this a lot. I think this is going to work.
I hope I'm giving generous sound bites. I hope it's useful.
Oh, dude, I can already tell you. Yes, you heard it. Yeah, 100%. Perfect.
How wide is that lens? I didn't know if it caught it. Oh, it did? Yeah. Sweet. Love a good lighting.
So, actually, how do you feel about not wearing the hat for this one?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So I'm just going to tell you, I think I mentioned this already, but the goal for the aesthetic of this is that I associate your work with optimism. And, a lot of your stuff, it looks like you're there right at the break of dawn. So the idea for this is that I'm going to try and replicate that like morning sunrise aesthetic.
Love a good sunrise. I'll tell you where that stems from too. Is from my coaching
more so coaching because, man, I used to coach classes like 3-4 times a week, and the first class would be at 5 a.m. So I love my mornings mainly because I get to watch the sunrise. But man, it's mostly. Oh, I also used to work at Trader Joe's too. So
Just gonna bring in. Dude, this looks really sick.
hell yeah.
I might just add one little thing.
It's interesting because I never worked with harsh light like that. That's crazy.
The optical light is actually not harsh,
harsh?
shockingly.
interesting.
Also because it feels like it's a great like 45 right under your eyelids and everything like that. It's not giving you any nasty shadows,
Yeah.
anything like that. I am gonna soften one thing though.
I see all my eye bags.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was that?
No. I said something. I said you gotta Photoshop my eye bags, and everybody, and you're like, yeah. And you're like, but that's not what you're saying yeah to though.
Oh no, it wasn't.
I know. That's why we were like.
Real quick, I just want to make sure that we still got audio. Do you mind if I check here?
Oh yeah.
That it's still recording on the.
It was. Oh,
Sweet,
yeah,
we're
it's
rocking.
red. It's
Okay,
red.
cool.
It's red. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. So actually, you had mentioned your podcast, the Creatively Stressed podcast.
Yes.
And specifically, you had talked about. So actually, this was one of the questions that I was going to ask is, why did you start that podcast? And it sounds like you wanted to talk about more of the soft skills.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, what's it called? Because with technical skills, you can learn all of that. And I think it's a very saturated talk market within podcasts. Like what gear are you using, or on the YouTube channels, what gear are you buying, or how to use the specific gear settings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no matter what you learn, you have to always apply it in person, because you can learn a YouTube video of how to make the right settings, but at the end of the day, you still have to apply it in real life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I think when you talked about like me having a podcast, there was a good run for a while. It took a pause. It's still on a pause. I'm trying to get back into it. And I think the main reason why I wanted to start that podcast, and especially with a friend, because one, it's always fun to work with friends.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's also less stressful. And I think one of the main reasons why I wanted to start is because there weren't a lot of podcasts talking about what is the realism, what's the behind the curtain of being in this industry, besides like knowing what gear to buy or how to like talk to a client or what to pitch them. Like there are people that are in this level still struggle mentally, still struggle with what they do in a month, and we just not wanted to teach that because we're not, I wouldn't say we're not qualified to teach it, but we wanted to explore that with people in the professions already in that and how they handle their daily stresses, their daily mindset, and hopefully what they say resonates with someone else behind the audio and applies it for themselves, whether if they do cold plunges in the morning or they meditate or they journal.
Is that one?
Right?
Is that a big part of it? Doing cold plunges and all that?
No, I think that's just I think I'm saying that because we're in Austin. Apparently, cold plunges is the hottest trend right now.
It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. I've thought about buying it for my place too, but I can't. You know what? People should really invest more in making it from Home Depot with the meat fridges than buying a $3,000 cold plunge.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah. Do you have one of those?
No, but I go to On It, and
Okay,
they've got like
you
a
go.
30
Yeah.
degree.
See?
Yeah.
It's a hard investment to buy it for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to ask for cold water at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, especially if you want like an extreme
Yeah,
one.
it's $3,000 for cold water. Just remember that. Remember that.
But so with your actually, I mean, I kind of
Yeah.
want to just get back to even the first question that I asked, which is that like a big part of this for me is that I struggle with not always hiding behind the art and the work and showing my face more and just kind of, because I really do think there is something to people they don't want to follow a page,
Yeah.
they don't want to follow work, they want to follow you as a person. And I want to hear your relationship with that, because to me, you look like you are the boss of that. I mean, you're like, everything you're doing is like people are rooting for you, where it's like you're shouting out, you're doing a video, not just about yourself, maybe you're doing a video, you're shouting out blenders, you're shouting out whatever. What is your relationship with social media, and how do you go about conveying yourself and your work at the same time?
What's funny about all of this, the fact that I'm, being able to be a guest on your podcast is crazy to me, because as a kid, I stuttered a lot, I mumbled a lot. They used to call me the mumbler as a kid, at like elementary school. And I think all of this does really primarily stem from where I now realize what type of person I am and how I want to personify that if I flip the camera on myself. And the reason why I say this is because I tried making those tech review like videos. I've tried being in front of the face like a vlog style, and they were all inspirations from other people that I follow. You know, I tried doing my own video review, you know, and it's still probably in the project files of in my SSD card, never to be seen, never will be. But I think the reason why I'm able to create stuff for blenders or for different people or for myself in general is because now that I know who I am, that's how I want to make sure I project myself. And when you realize that, it's a lot easier to record yourself and film yourself at the end of the day, because you get to laugh at what you just recorded when you're editing. You get to look back at that moment too as well, and just like, oh, I want to change this because this is going to be super funny, you know. And I think that's an important part of it, because I think someone who just does a different style of vlogs or being on the face of the camera, like maybe a guy named, this guy named Edward Lee. He's a filmmaker, videographer, and he does very aesthetic, modern style video clips. But that's him as a person. So I think when you understand like how you want to personify yourself naturally and never fake, I think that's where it clicks in your head of now it's a lot easier to record yourself. There's always going to be that, okay, let me try to get on the camera, let me try to get my lines right. But it's never as big of a struggle, I feel like, when you have to do something that's not you. Like, I am not the video tech guy. Like, I'm not the tech review guy at all. Like, if I try to say something, it will be accurate, but it will sound terrible, you know? Like 32-bit flow. It's 32 ranges. Yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
So I think when you understand yourself better as a person and how you want to portray that on the camera, I think that's when it becomes a lot easier to create the stuff that you want to see yourself in. You know?
A little
Yeah.
adjustment.
I'll do it. Is it a lab?
Yeah, just
I'll just hide it.
Oh, no. I'm just going to Photoshop the lab out.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not worried
yeah.
about that. And we sound good? Everything? Okay, cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's where I think it's like when people it's no matter what, like when people overcomplicate things, then yeah, it becomes a struggle bus 100%. And I think that's the thing, like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't have to overcomplicate it. I think that when you look at yourself in the mirror, just remember what type of person you are and how you are with other people. And that's going to shine way brighter, because when your friend sees it or another person sees it on social media and you meet them in real life, that's the person that they are. Like if I was the very gritty, very like dark, moody person on Instagram that I was portraying, like when you meet me in real life and I'm shouting and screaming, like that's not me, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a complete reversal, you know? And almost like creates like a little bipolar within yourself, not legitimately medically, but just this confusion within yourself. So I think that's where it all stems from, you know?
Dude, I think that makes perfect sense. And I think that explains a big part of the struggle, for me and probably for a lot of people, is exactly that, is that the notion that you're using Instagram or social media to convey something that you actually just are not. Mm-hmm. Or that you want to be rather than who you actually are.
Yeah.
I think that makes perfect sense. And that's probably been a big part of my struggle, and it's probably been a big part of the struggle for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. So we'll probably do like a couple more questions. Then I want to get into like an actual kind of like, we're going to pose a little bit.
Ooh.
We'll yeah, exactly. A little bit like a pose session, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah. But I am curious, like, it's funny. I have like so many questions written down, but I'm not sure how many of them
I'll try to wrap up my answers to a little shorter, so you're able to.
Dude, do not worry about it. This is not that kind of podcast. This is not like a
just for the clips.
Yeah, absolutely. So here is one. Actually, I do have a couple. I want to.
No, shoot him.
I want to hear an example, if you got one.
Oof.
Of a goal that you reverse engineered to get to. Is there an example where you're like, I want this thing, and then you in your head were like, this is how I'm going to get to that, and then you actually did that?
Man, that is a great question, because sometimes it's either an ongoing process still, or it has happened and it's kind of hard to reflect on because you kind of buried your head in the work and you grinded to a certain point that you didn't, and you just didn't recognize. But I think that if I had to pick one, I believe that it's always a cool thing to see your work produced on, let's say, like, the classic example is like those New York City highlight whatever billboards.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, the animated billboards and everything, and even just a billboard on the street.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very common goal a lot of creatives have, that they want to see their work on the big screen for everybody to notice. And well, they may not know it's them. You yourself know that you've done that work and you worked hard to a point where it's finally being shown publicly. And I think this client that's an electrolyte company that is in a lot of stores and everything hired me for a big shoot where we had to change their product packaging and their labels. And I think the girl said that, like, yeah, we're probably gonna have these photos in Target, And that's not, and it's like, who knows? It could be the small image in the aisle, It probably is not gonna be those big ones that they have for their clothing and lifestyle, which I'm always curious, who shoots those photos? Because they look so damn good. Yeah.
Right.
But even if it's like this small and it's at a grocery store like Target, that's kind of cool. I will literally go up to that little aisle and be like, this is me. It's like a little photo right here.
Dude, I would do the same thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you really dive into the work of, like, when you reverse engineer, what do you got to do? You got to be able to prove that you can shoot X brand or X shoot or X style, right? And then from there, you have it on your website, you have it on your portfolio. Then you have the feedback from all of your clients that, like, it was great working with you, we love the work, you work with it again, perfect. Just rep after rep after rep until finally you get to the goal that you want. And the reason why you got there is because you made all these missions and objectives you completed. You didn't skip a step to get here, right? Because now the reason why it's on that billboard or why it's on that ad or it's on a TV commercial or even bigger goal, Super Bowl commercial, is because you worked and put in so many hours to get to that point. The more than the 10,000 rule. Who knows? You maybe have put like 50,000 hours if someone lives that long. Don't quote me on that. But that's basically
somebody will eventually.
Yeah. Basically exaggerated example. You worked, and you've not only just put yourself in there, but you also just made sure to do the things correctly and not just half-ass it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your podcast is called Creatively Stressed.
Yeah.
And I think it's the first question, or one of the questions you always ask is, are you creatively stressed?
Yes.
What is your definition of creatively stressed?
Creatively stressed came from the definition of people always say, like, I'm stressed. I'm so stressed.
Yeah.
Like about different things, whether if it's like you work in a VP office or you're at Trader Joe's like I was, or stressed with life, But I think I put the word creatively in it because, like, even though I may be stressed, I'm not stressed about, like, my life right now because, like, I have 2 amazing dogs, an amazing girlfriend, and I can't be stressed about that. Otherwise, like, that's just being very, oh God, what's the opposite of optimism? Pessimism? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's how optimistic
Or the
I am.
opposite of stress, and this is
Yeah.
a fun fact, the opposite of stress is eustress.
Really?
Eustress, yeah,
Oh.
stress. And it sounds like that's what you're referring to.
Yeah. That's
So
yeah.
it's basically stress that has
That's actually
positive repercussions.
Wow. That's actually kind of cool.
So that is what your idea of
Yeah, I wanted to personify within, like, this specific industry, and not even that, like any industry where it involves creativity. Because even even a person who is making a crazy Excel sheet for a B2B or venture capitalist has to be in a creative mindset too to create that Excel sheet. Even though it's just numbers and blocks, to them, it's like playing a music piece. That's like Beethoven for them, as they generate it. And musicians, same thing. Olympic weightlifters, actually, you might understand this one because
absolutely.
You work with Zach Tellander. Any program writing takes creativity, because it can either be simple or it can be, there's this path of just like, you gotta really get to your goal in a certain way, and you have to not only know the basics, but you also might have to involve some creativity to get there too as well.
Yeah.
So there's creativity to everything and anything, is how I look at life.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So what I'm curious about. Sorry, one last little adjustment.
I love this new style. Honestly, it's like a lot of movement.
It's a lot of
I like it.
It's like, I'll be honest, I was like, this is even more movement than I thought it was gonna actually be.
You gotta look at your step tracker now.
Yeah.
How many steps you get in a session?
I didn't realize like how much I moved during a normal portrait session because it is a lot of a little adjusting this and a little adjusting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, like so far with the episodes that you've had, and just I'm sure
Yeah.
just generally asking people, what's the general thing that you feel like? What do you generally notice in your consensus of asking people, like what has them creatively stressed?
I think it's defining on what you want to be good at and slash where you're okay with being at. Because within the 4 people that we have had so far on the podcast, and even on the little mini series that I ask people on the street, and these are all, and this is the cool part again, these are all of my friends or people that I've followed on Instagram for a while, and I've reached out to them, hey, would you like to be on a snippet of this podcast real quick, and not even on the full recording session. I think what I've found that was really cool is that one of our friends, he does creative industry too as well, but he does a lot of more corporate work, a lot of more just like B2C video production, and another one makes films. But they're not wishing themselves that they were in each other's field. They know what field they are in, and they know that they want to excel in that specific field. While, of course, one may make more money than the other, or one has each other's stresses and they want to switch that, they would never, because they know who they are as themselves and understand, like, again, like you don't have to be the greatest at everything, but be great in what you really want to pursue and do. Although there's wishes like, yeah, I want to make a movie, but at the same time, you're okay with it, I think that's the thing that I found in mostly of the recording sessions, and with the people that I interview, I think finding out what they know about themselves and how to cope with that stress in everyday life is always the cool factor to share too as well. Whether, again, journaling, meditating, going on a run, I think that all of these people know who they are.
Yeah.
And even if they 50% know it, they're still on their way of understanding themselves.
It sounds like the general theme of this episode is that if you really figure out who you are, a lot of things start to fall into line.
Exactly.
In fact, the core of what you've done is you started off in fitness.
Yeah.
And you've never really you start off as a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a continuation of just you discovering yourself, is
Yeah.
that you're a fitness junkie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then you were like, but I'm also creative, and I'm not going to be satisfied until I do something creative.
Yeah.
And then you just basically merged those two things into, or discovered that you had those two things
Yeah.
already.
I'll tell you what, too, as far as like being a fitness coach for a long time, I know actually how to direct people when I want them to do certain exercise movements for a shoot, and sometimes other people may not, or like a certain model is not doing that movement correctly. I'm still able to. That's when the coaching side comes out of me. I'm like, here, just put your knee in this angle, dip down a little bit, chest up, just throw in the fitness words, and they understand it. So I think, yes, that has helped me a lot in my career, actually, being a fitness trainer with doing fitness shoots. The one thing I always hate seeing is a girl not wearing a ponytail in a fitness shoot.
You know what? It's funny. That's like a very common thing for me too. Yeah. And you immediately just go, bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
Like,
her makeup ain't gonna be like that, no?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, dude. All right. So one last question,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll do like a little posy pose. How's everything looking? Looking good? Recording? Okay. I think this is just going to be my last question for everybody, because I find this problem very interesting. Yeah, let me make sure I'm still. Which is just going back to spec work. When to do free work, when to do pro bono work. Ooh. Do you still do that? Do you still do any pro bono work? Really, what I'm coming to is that I asked the last 2 guests about it, and I really liked the topic, but both times I've walked away feeling like I didn't really have an answer, and that it's always more complicated. It's still more complicated than I think. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, when do you do spec work? When do you say no? What are the parameters that you have for that sort of thing?
I think it's very common to say no to free work when it will never, like, it's out of your scope of like what you do and what either you believe in or what you are able to wanting to create. Because you have to be passionate about especially free work, like you have to be passionate about like, oh yeah, this would be sick to do, when it's just like brought up to you. But if there's no passion, if there's no drive, like why torture yourself to get out the door with your equipment, or like regardless if it's just a photography camera, you still have to go in the back post-production and edit anything and everything, And I think a good example of this is that I've recently taken out my camera to shoot like with my friends running at the track or just running and just creating little mini video clips of that, and I enjoy that. And technically, if whether you consider that spec work or not, it's enjoyable. And I think
You're basically,
yeah.
it's almost like you're just fucking around. Like
Exactly.
it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, it is kind of work, but you're also doing what you love.
Yeah.
In the vein of something that you would want to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then when you decide to do it, I think the best way to make sure is also think about the end result. Like, is this going to cause me stress? Is this going to interrupt my work schedule, my work life? Like, and like, how fast do I want to produce this? Do I want to take my time with it, or do I want to get it done and get it out there? I think within that scope of things, like once you answer those check marks, I think the main thing is like, you shouldn't ever be stressed about free work or not want to do free work. If it's something that you actually want to shoot and are excited and passionate about, that's when you do it. But don't let that just conjure your brain too as well. You also have to think about, well, is it also going to be easy to edit? Is it going to be simple? Because at the end, you're servicing your time, right? Your time is valuable. Everybody's time is valuable. So once you have answered those prerequisite questions, I think that's when you're like, yeah, I'm freaking up for this, you know? Because like, again, the photos I've taken of my friends and posted on my stories, like 30 of them, that's a preset that I've created. So I've created a system where like, it's easy to post and easy to share, and it's done. It's off my plate. But I had fun doing it, you know? Within like the moment we get done with the run, I get back to my laptop, I'm like sharing on my story an hour later, or like giving my friends the free photos, you know? And it's not like I'm giving it to a company or whatever, but if I did do something that was like for a certain like project work, it's again, like, what is the process? Is the process gonna be more heavy on me? I'm not gonna do it ever. If the process is a lot light and fun, I'll do it, you know? Because one, it may benefit me in the long run, or it's fun as fuck and this is pleasurable. It's like, why do you decide to go to a run club, you know? Or why do you decide to go to pick up basketball game or pickleball, you know? It's because you find it fun and enjoyable and worth your time. Like, your time has to be worth it, you know? And don't worry if you say no, because that just means that you have more time for yourself and other things in your life, you know? I think when you start to think about it like that, or anybody, I think it starts to all make a little more sense. Yeah. I hope that is a different answer than what you've got.
No,
So,
it is a different answer. Yeah. And so, I mean, basically the layer that you added, I think other people, and myself included, have always thought of it in terms of like an angle, like I'm going to do this to get that type of thing. Yeah. Where it sounds like the layer that you're adding is, you know, when you're talking about just shooting of your friends or going for a photo walk or any of that type of stuff, it's like, it is kind of like free work, but you're just kind of tacking on the spec work on top of that, if you can, that type of thing, which I think makes way more sense.
Yeah, because like, let's say if you did a spec work that involved like, I got a question for you. What is something you're passionate about that you'd love to shoot? I saw a show music video. Do you normally shoot those?
My goal, the reason why I moved here is for music videos and for comedy sketches.
Yeah.
So that is, that to direct and filmmaking would probably be, that's basically it. Yeah.
Right. So if there was a project that like you knew that it wouldn't take too much time, or if you wanted to take more time out of your day to do, I think like even if it's for one scene, one room, it doesn't have to be 2 locations, and you filmed a funny scene or a really awesome scene that you envisioned for a while just to replicate from a movie, I think that's even the equivalent of like, it didn't take a lot, it may have taken X amount of time or a short amount of time, but the mental time it took me to really think about all of this and do this was not terrible or not, it was fun. I think like that's when you know like, okay, this was absolutely worth it. Yeah. You know, especially whatever conversations you had to go through or like things to look for. Like if time goes by and you're obsessed with something that you created for free for yourself, I think that's when you know it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, this is, I think, a home run. We're just going to do a couple little poses. Yeah. I think this is, I'm really glad you were the first one for this format, because you're very much like let it rip, and you just got, that's kind of how my first guest was as well. White T, Taylor T, where that's probably that guy.
Which one is that? Is that the long hair guy that I saw?
Yeah. He gave a lot of great advice, but that you're very thankful that I'm like running around and you just are like, you're just giving us information, man. You're just like, but
happy to provide.
Dude, let's do this. So Go ahead and turn a little bit towards me. What's up?
Okay. No, I was just it's post session time, so I was just doing random stuff like.
Oh, we're not gonna do. No, we're not gonna. This is
no.
gonna be. This is gonna be real gentle, real
Okay.
calm. If you want to just, you can sit down, but just
sit
kind of
down.
turn towards
turn.
me, and just kind of lean forward a little bit. In your, that's perfect, exactly like that. And I want you to just kind of look 1,000 yards right over here, not into the light, but like right into this direction where my hand is. Can you see my hand at all? Or?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So just kind of stay right there, and just kind of bend forward a little bit more. Maybe lean forward a little bit if you can. If we might have to get you a new chair or a better chair, but yeah, just lean forward. That's perfect. Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of want you to just like here's what I'm going for is kind of like a if you can almost like you're like that's it,
I
like
see.
a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay, I got
Perfect.
you.
Yeah, go ahead and pick your head up. Okay. Dude, this is perfect. I like that. Yeah, just look straight forward and just go ahead and relax. Take a deep breath and relax. Oh, I like this a lot, dude. And I'm going to get a little closer.
Still looking out.
Yep, yeah, just look in the same direction. Just take a
Looking
deep
at
breath. Yeah, look straight right at Hans, deep into Hans's eyes. Yeah, just go ahead and take another deep breath. Perfect. Relax. Perfect. Excellent. I love it. I love it. Oh, these are beautiful. I'm going to get closer. I like it, man. I like it. I like it. You can actually just turn just a smidge right here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is perfect. This is money, baby. This
I need
looks
a
so
new
good.
profile pic too. The photo I have right now is just.
What's that?
The photo I have right now is ridiculous though. They just like literally took a selfie of me and like used that as my profile photo. So.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I definitely.
My goal is actually to get as many people to have my photo as their profile. When I was in college,
Yeah.
I was up to 43
I'm honored.
of my friends that they were using my photo as their profile picture. So I'm trying to break that record. This looks fantastic. I'm gonna get a little closer. See if I can do this without getting in the. Ooh, yeah. You know what? I like that. Look straight into. Yeah, we'll do that. Ooh, beautiful. Actually, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna scooch this back a little bit. So we're gonna just take this chair, just scooch this back a little bit, and go ahead and have a seat right there.
I've had a new look ever since I grew the ponytail. I'm not gonna lie.
I like it. It looks good. And go ahead and lean forward again. Oh, you know what?
do
That
that
was right
same
there,
thing?
right there where you
Oh,
were. It's
okay.
perfect. Just lean a little bit forward, just a little bit. Excellent. Oh, I like that. Yeah, straight down the camera. Beautiful. Oh, these are fantastic. Actually, I'm going to have to do this. Oh, I love this. Absolutely. Yeah, one more. Just get a couple more. And you know what else? We're going to kill this light here.
Create some negative. I love
A little
that.
bit more negative. A little bit of neg. Oh, that's way better. Yes. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Get a little silly with it.
You gotta a little bit.
Exactly. And silly stuff is my favorite. You should see the photo stuff that I tried to attempt. I don't know if you scroll down far enough, but I tried to take selfies of myself. Did not turn out well.
I am not good at self-portraits at all.
Dude, it fucking sucks.
Yeah. Now these are fantastic. I'm gonna make one little adjustment here, and then we will be done.
Who's running the show? The government?
Oh, this is great. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Right there. Perfect. Yeah. Get a little closer.
That's it.
Oh, beautiful. I really like that. I'm gonna get back a little bit. Bro, I fucking love these. These are sick. Dude, I cannot thank you enough.
Dude, thank you.
Appreciate
man.
your patience with all the
Dude, no worries. This is
technicalities.
fun.
Yeah, dude, this is a lot of fun.
I mean, like I said, like it's got to be fun, you know. Otherwise, like again, it's
Yeah.
little tortures at the end result, you know. Oh, hold on.
What's that? Oh, I'll do it. I'll
Is
do
there
it.
an outro? What's the
Wait.
outro?
I don't. You know what? I don't have an outro just yet.
No, yeah.
I mean, but basically, the big thing I just say is amateurs talk shit, professionals talk shop.
Yeah. So this is fun. 10 out of 10. Review it on the Spotify podcast, Apple podcast. Give it 5 stars.
Please, please.
All of the reviews. It was great.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
Of course, man.
Really appreciate it. It's you. I mean, I'm telling you, this is like you killed it. This is gonna be very informative for a lot of people.